Geometry Dash has some fantastic works of art, from white space to change of scene, but it's well known that the hardest demons in the game often lack the same quality. But today, I'm going to put my preconceived notions aside and review and rank every top 10 difficulty demon. And I have some bonkers takes in this video, so you won't want to miss them. Oh wait, Tidal Wave got verified? Sure, add it to the pile. Let's do 11. So, is there anything golden here, or is it all absolute garbage? Let's find out. Let's start with the current 10th hardest level in the game, KOCMOC. This is a remake of Slaughterhouse, but its visuals are such an upgrade that it's hard to compare the two. KOCMOC has its own identity, especially through the well-executed space theme. The backgrounds throughout the level are so intricate and well done, from this electric black orb to an awesome rotating galaxy. The level is also full of really cool block designs. The first wave is the best example of this, but each part has its own to share. Well, except for the first and last cubes. These parts are honestly pretty underwhelming. The cubes are slow, and while they have some cool effects going on, it's hard to fully appreciate them at full speed. There's a couple Clubstep monsters with a lot of personality, but the part is so dark that it's hard to appreciate them. But like Slaughterhouse, the slow sections aren't why you care about KOCMOC. You'll be way more focused on all the cool art throughout. Like in Blee's section, there's some really awesome robotic type stuff with mechanical arms sticking out all over the place. And this weird robot bunny that I'm only realizing now might be a FNAF reference. The energy throughout this level is incredibly intense. This is especially apparent in the 47 wave, which has so many visual effects, some really intricate designs, and incredibly intense, difficult gameplay. The drop ends with this extremely tight wave spam, which, at least from a viewer perspective, works really well to cap off the drop. I really like the transition to the end screen as well, which for some reason gives off a vintage VHS kind of vibe. You have no idea how many takes it took to get that sentence down. This is a really wonderful level, and fortunately it seems to have gotten the deserved attention from the community. Solid A tier. Next, the 9th hardest demon in the game, we have another Cherry Team level, Firework. This level gets a lot of criticism, but personally, I'm a fan. This is one of the few levels that feels like a perfect representation of the song. I can't imagine any visuals fitting better. And in full detail, there's a decent amount to look at, especially with all the effects that sync to the music. We also have to talk about the orb ship. It's such an iconic section, and it's so ridiculously intimidating, which is great for technically a former top 1. I do have to admit though, I'm kind of grasping at straws. I like this level, so I want to praise it, but there's just so little going on. It's too minimalistic to the point where it just seems older than it is. Like, the background and the block designs aren't very good. Some of the blocks are a little empty, and the background is usually nothing more than some texture. There are some exceptions throughout the level, of course. For example, the ending of the last cube has some block designs I'm a big fan of, but the quality isn't consistently high enough throughout the level. Yeah, Firework has some good ideas, and the gameplay is fun to watch, but man, the decoration is boring. Even the end screen isn't all that interesting. It's good art, sure, but there's just not enough depth to be incredibly memorable. If the whole level were as good as the spider theme section at 17, it would be so much better. This part is so well made, with webs, hanging spiders, and some of the level's best effects. Firework as a whole could have gone with the spider theme to become something really special. It's great to see how much Cherry Team has evolved over time, but this level's decoration just doesn't do it for me. Firework goes in C tier. Next up, we have a very different level, Codependence by TC Team. This level is the longest so far at over 2 minutes, and it looks pretty great for the entire duration. It mostly goes with the standard glow style throughout, but there's a reason glow style is used so much. It looks good. Codependence is a 2-player level, and I find it interesting how the two sections are separate deco-wise. In some parts they have completely different colors and designs, while in others they're treated as one big part. I really like how the different decorator sections look incredibly different, but still with a similar enough style that it's not too jarring. The 57 duel especially looks so good, and I love how the two paths have entirely different designs. It gives the viewer so much more to look at, and oh my gosh, that 77 duel is incredible. The top path has intricate block designs, while the bottom focuses on a really great rising bubble effect, and seeing both of these at once is so mesmerizing. Finally, we get a duel where the icons are crossing between the two paths instead of being completely isolated. This is a style I really like seeing because it gives the level so much more life, and I wish it was used more in this level. Another critique I have for Codependence is that the credits are really distracting. They pop up in giant text blocking the decoration, and it just really looks bad. But that's a minor gripe, it doesn't take away from the experience too much, unlike this random Peter Griffin in the the end screen for no apparent reason. Like, what? Good level though, B tier. Now onto what many people consider one of the worst levels in the game, Sakupen Circles. Upon its completion 2 years ago, people all over were hoping it would just go unrated, but is it really all that bad? In its low detail mode with the traditional 9-circle style, yeah, it's pretty gross, this is a D tier. But we're looking at the full detail, and honestly, it is a much different story. Sure, some of the designs are pretty boring, and yeah, it doesn't really bring anything new to the table, but this level exudes atmosphere. The pre-drop especially has one of the strongest vibes of any top 10. It feels so intimidating, putting you on the edge of your seat just waiting for the big drop. The saws are menacing, the particle effects are immersive, and when you finally get to the first wave, it's like a world of pain exploding in front of you. The level is screaming, this is what an impossible level really is. And of course, SC's gameplay is completely iconic. Those gaps, that spam, and of course the double clicks. To me, Sakupen Circles is the definition of menacing. Hate on this level all you want, and sure, a lot of that criticism is completely valid, but Sakupen Circles is anything but a mistake. My only real gripe with the level is the downward spam and the double clicks, because I can't click that fast and I would love to practice this level. And the balancing overall is just too horrendous to put in A tier, so into B we go, above Codependence. The next level on our list is pretty polarizing. A lot of people like it, while others despise it. Of course, this is Abyss of Darkness by XN and more. So, what do I think? This level is definitely unique when compared to the other top 10s. It's easily the slowest paced level amongst them, rarely going faster than half or 1x speed. This gives you more time in each section to take in all the decoration, and a much lower CPS than something like Kyuki. The song is also quite different, being a remix of L's theme from Death Note, which is very piano focused. The gameplay is super diverse, mixing everything together instead of just relying on wave or ship. And while the decoration might not be jaw-dropping, there are definitely some sections that I think stand out. What I really like about AOD is the fact that it's scary. Not that it's a horror level or anything, but since the gameplay is so slow, and for the most part very visible, you can tell just how insane it is. The wave gaps are ridiculous, the robot jumps have no room for error, the cube and spider timings are ludicrous, etc. As a former top 1, this is a great quality. These levels should look impossible, you should be terrified to play it. If not, then what's the point? I'm sure the gameplay could be more enjoyable to top players without sacrificing difficulty, but it looks hard and it's cool to watch, so I'll give it a pass for this video. I'm not a top player, I don't get an opinion. But what about the visuals and decoration? I'm very torn. Some parts look really great. Grenade section is the perfect example. A sharp gray with red accents, the weird but cool inclined structuring, the way the icon goes up and down with all the portals. I'm sure it's annoying to play, but from a viewer's perspective, it's fun to watch. And of course, there's the iconic Kira laugh. And speaking of which, I really do wish this level went further with the Death Note theme. There's a tiny bit sprinkled in, but it really doesn't do a lot with the idea. And I think the level could be so much more memorable, definitely a missed opportunity. But while Grenade's part is great, others really suffer, like from 53 to 70. It lasts so long and does so little visually besides a couple pulses. The designs aren't interesting, the background is nothing more than some pointy things, and it's just super forgettable all around, which is a huge shame. I like Abyss of Darkness, and as I said on Twitter, I'm not calling it X. I wish that the level had more time at the #1 spot. I thought it was a good fit. It's certainly better than another level in this video. AOD is going in low B tier. Sakupen Circles, AOD, I miss the A tiers. Luckily, the next demon isn't quite as atrocious. Introducing Kyuki by Demishio. There's a lot of great things to say about this level. It has cool designs, a unique style, amazing effects, and easily one of the best songs in the top 10. The whole level has such a vibe that little else can compare to, and it's quite hard to describe. The level also seems to combine a ton of different styles. Glow, modern, tech, rainbow, effect, all into one, and it's done incredibly well. Nothing feels like it clashes. If we zoom on into the designs in slow motion, there's some really intricate stuff here, and all the colors are just so good. You could take a screenshot anywhere and it would look amazing. I do think it's a shame that so much of this detail is lost at full speed, since the gameplay is so fast-paced. But I didn't count that against KOCMOC, so I won't here. And those effects, they are so well done. From moving arrows to inverted colors to glitchy effects, different designs flashing to the beat, and glow effects left and right all syncing perfectly to the song. It's borderline jaw-dropping, and I can't imagine how much work went into it. I also feel like the moving structures in Kyuki are underappreciated. They just bring an energy that pull the whole thing together. Unfortunately though, Kyuki is far from perfect. There is a major flaw in this level, one that takes it from being easily the best level in the top 10 to being just list. Okay, this level is made up of one section. In Kyuki, there's no beginning, no middle, and no end. There's no change and no development. This level is a beautiful wasteland, but at the end of the day, it's still just a wasteland. Every single second of the level follows the exact same style, to the point where you could show me any screenshot and I would have no idea where it was. The whole experience just blends together. Kyuki is a good level, an excellent level, but it's endlessly disappointing that it never changes things up even a little. I can't in good conscience put this in S tier, so it's going in high A instead. Gosh, I'm so excited to see what the next level could be. I wonder what beauty we'll talk about. Oh my god. Yeah, Slaughterhouse by Ice Cave and more. This isn't my favorite level, cause let's face it, it's just a hell level. Now, I want to be fair to Ice Cave here. He didn't make this level for attention or whatever. He made it as a recreation of his own Impossible level. It was a passion project from start to finish. Plus, the entire first half is from 2019, so it makes sense why the quality is so much lower. But let's take a look. The level starts off with an incredibly boring pre-drop. A couple cube jumps, some more jumps, long pauses, and nothing but the tiniest little straight fly to break up the monotony. And to make it worse, this pre-drop lasts 30 seconds, which is over 40% time-wise. After this cube is, well, wave. It's Slaughterhouse, it's a red top 1, of course it's wave-based. And the worst part is, the start of the drop is pretty bleak. I had to look up videos of full detail showcases just to make sure my footage wasn't an LDM, because it's just empty. So many block designs that are literally just a lack of a design, save for some little squares and dots. The decoration barely qualifies as decoration until River's part halfway through, but honestly, even this part is overhyped. When looking closely, it's not anything super memorable. There's some decent stuff, like I'm a fan of the blockiness of the designs, but you can barely even see it at full speed. Luckily, the level really picks up after this. Iris' section, starting with the UFO, is easily my favorite. The blocks and spikes look really great, and the floor and ceiling have some good layering. All the pulses, air deco, and stuff hanging from above come together to make a really great atmosphere. It falls off a bit with Dr. Cuber, but it's still decent. I like the structuring, and the blocks and pulses look pretty good. But the problem with Slaughterhouse is that the parts that look good, from Iris to the end of the last cube, only make up 20 seconds of the level. I think that Slaughterhouse suffers hard from top 1 syndrome. It's red and hell themed, it's wave based, it has a long and boring pre-drop, and it does little interesting other than just being hard. Again, none of this was intentional, since it was a passion project more than anything. But my critiques still hold true. I've hit the end of my rant though, so it's time to move on. Slaughterhouse goes in D tier, the very bottom. Silent Clubstep by Silent. You all knew it was coming, the infamous Impossible level. Most people think very little of the actual quality here, and I can't disagree. Sure, it's historic as hell, and that's interesting in its own right, but aside from that, there's really nothing of value here. But getting into specifics, let's start with the pros. This level's unique when compared to those around it. The first ship is of course iconic for being borderline impossible, and the entire pre-drop is riddled with frame perfects. Near the end of the level, we have the duel, and of course the 8 jumps of hell. This level is honestly fun to watch people play. There's so much hype whenever a streamer passes a group of choke points, and seeing them get far makes the chat go crazy. But does Silent Clubstep have any visual value? Well, it's ugly, I'm sorry. The entire pre-drop is just darkness, but not even in a cool way like the Golden. There's no designs of any kind here. The clouds look out of place, the air deco looks bad, and even the monsters are boring. The drop is a bit better, at least there's some deco, but it's still pretty darn ugly. Boring ball, oversaturated UFO, darkness, ugly colors, there is nothing here. The only saving grace is the end of the pre-drop where it just says bye, which is hilarious. You might say this is all because it's an old level, but to put it into perspective, Silent Clubstep was made an entire update after Electrodynamics, which is a million times better. SC is basically a layout, bottom of D tier. Just 2 more levels before we talk about Tidal Wave, Avernus, and Acheron. And what may surprise you is that while these 2 levels are universally hated, I personally love one of them. Out of curiosity, I asked you all which you thought was the better level, and the results were clear. 92% of you preferred Acheron to Avernus. But do I agree? This might be the end of my career, but it's time to come clean. I love Avernus, and that is not a joke. To get the obvious out of the way, sure, the gameplay sucks. According to every top player, Zoink ruined it with fixed hitboxes. I mean, look at this, does this look fair to you? But since I can't play any of these levels, gameplay isn't a factor here. And in terms of deco, Avernus is anything but a bad level. Firstly, the song is a really unique choice for a hell level. The drop is a pretty melody played on piano, and it isn't super ultra intense like Slaughterhouse or Bloodlust. And this is where I'm gonna get some bad comments, cause you know the decoration that everybody roasts on Twitter? To me, the deco is nothing short of gorgeous. In Avernus, hell is portrayed semi-realistically with actual fire, lava, and rocks, rather than just red and darkness hinting at hell. It even expands on this theme with castle blocks and structuring, giving the impression of the gates to Hades' lair. The pouring lava alongside blazing fires makes you feel like you're really there, and it's especially great when fiery rocks fall from the sky. The stylizing is done differently from section to section, but nowhere does the theme fall apart. Even the rocky section that everybody hates on honestly has its own charm to it, even if I admit it kinda sticks out. And right before the drop we have a title screen, which is one of my favorite parts. The way these letters flash and move is just lovely. The end screen finishes it all off with a cartoony depiction of the underworld, which is beautifully done, and cements the fact that this is more than just another hell level. It has its own spin-off sub-theme of castles, which I love the execution of. My biggest problem with Avernus is that it's just too hard for me to beat. And yeah, okay, it could use some more polishing, but whatever, I still love it. This is an A tier if I've ever seen one. Commence the slurs against me, I guess. Finally, we're onto Acheron, the last level before we review Tidal Wave. Like Avernus, Acheron is hated amongst top players as the gameplay is just awful. Fixed hitboxes at every input, wildly difficult frame perfects, and a brutal ending. But screw gameplay, I can't even beat Limbo after over 100k attempts. So does Acheron hold up visually? Let me put it this way, no. Credit where credit is due, the pre-drop looks alright. Grenade comes in clutch yet again and has some pretty decent designs. Not fantastic, but decent. And there's 3 seconds at 60% that look pretty good. But that's where my praise ends. For the vast majority of Acheron, there is nothing to look at. It's barely more than a layout. Acheron is an original 2.1 level, and yet it isn't even half as appealing as its younger sibling Tartarus, or hell, even Fingerdash. I bet if you showed a new player this level, they would think it's an unfinished mess. In fact, let's try it. I'm gonna send this level to my friend Alex and see what he says.
That's Acheron? Like the top 10? Okay, like it looks decently cool, but not what I would expect out of a top 1.
I agree. If this deco was part of an easy demon, the level would be remarkably forgettable. But at least it wouldn't be the face of extreme demons at the top of the list. Though to be honest, I doubt it would even get rated as an easy demon, let alone featured like Acheron. Like not even Kuzureta got featured, and that level is gorgeous. For most of the level, I'm just sitting here like, how is this level released in the same frickin' update as Limbo? Acheron is a mega collab hosted by the legendary Riot, yet this random recent tab level I found genuinely has so much more thought, charm, and love put into it. This level should be featured, not Acheron. In fact, I'm messaging a moderator friend so he can send it to RobTop. This is just unfair. Acheron frustrates me because even if there was passion behind it, it just doesn't show through. If you disagree, that's a valid opinion, but I just don't see it. Maybe it's more put together than Silent Clubstep, but it doesn't have any of the charm, personality, or history. At least watching Silent Clubstep doesn't make me sad. Unfortunately, this goes at the very bottom, F tier. But now, there's a new top 1 on the horizon. So for the final question of this video, is Tidal Wave a drop of hope, or will it be washed away? Sorry. This is another Zoink verified level, but apparently the gameplay is so much better. According to Trick, it's actually fun, which is awesome. But more importantly for this review, the gameplay is fun to watch. Sure, it's wave-based, but there's so many other parts too, it's all very dynamic. Something I really like is the 4x speed sections between the drops when the song is picking up in intensity. Something about going really fast during a build-up is so exciting. But even the wave gameplay is pretty engaging. It mixes things up throughout by throwing in a bunch of gravity changes, saws to navigate around, and size portals. And when watching an actual completion, the clicks sync pretty decently to the song. And speaking of that music, it's such a vibe, it gets stuck in my head constantly, and it fits the level really well. As for the deco, it's pretty obviously unpolished. Some of the backgrounds and designs look like they need some work to reach their potential. The beach background, for example, sticks around for 78 seconds, yet it's a little basic. That being said, I am still a huge fan of everything. There's multiple sections throughout, and each one has its own vibe. The pre-drop feels like the deep ocean and is full of wonderful designs. The second verse transitions to the beach with structures that range from a little questionable to honestly really lovely. The ending is a sunset, and I actually kind of like how chaotic and messy it is. Say what you will about the visuals, the gameplay, and everything in this package, but it's so clear how much effort and love went into this level. Oni Link might not be a master creator, but he had a clear vision vision, and I think he did a wonderful job. Tidal Wave represents a new era of top 1s, and being an engaging level for 3 whole minutes is pretty impressive. So since this is my video and it's all subjective, I'm putting Tidal Wave at the top of A tier. Not quite S material, but it's pretty darn great. And with 4 levels in A tier, I'm pretty happy. Maybe the top 11 wasn't as bad as I thought. But let me know what your ranking is down in the comments, and just how wrong you think I am. Thanks for being here. Oh yeah, Alex said Avernus is beautiful. Take that, Iced Cave.